Welcome to a new video where we delve into the intricacies of policing systems across different countries. Today, we'll be taking a fascinating journey through the world of law enforcement, drawing back the curtain on the systems that keep societies safe and orderly, or at least that's the idea. We're setting our sights on 4 distinct countries: Nigeria, the United Kingdom, the United States, and Canada. Each of these nations has its own unique approach to policing, shaped by a complex blend of history, culture, legislation, and of course, necessity. Our journey will take us from the bustling streets of Nigeria, where the police force is a single national entity, to the United Kingdom, where the structure is a bit more decentralized. From there, we'll hop across the pond to the United States, a country known for its diverse and sometimes contentious policing policies. And finally, we'll round out our tour in Canada, a nation that balances both federal and provincial law enforcement agencies. Over the course of the next 15 minutes, we'll be dissecting these systems, peeling back the layers to understand how they operate, and maybe even glean some insights into what makes them effective or not. Each scene will focus on a different country, delving into the nitty-gritty of their policing system. And just to keep things interesting, we'll wrap up with a comparative analysis. We'll put these systems side by side, examining similarities and differences, and perhaps even sparking a conversation about what works and what could use a revamp. This isn't just about facts and figures, though. We're going to look at the real-world implications of these systems, how they impact the people they're designed to protect, and how they shape the world we live in. So, without further ado, let's dive into our first country, Nigeria. Starting off in West Africa, we find ourselves in Nigeria. Home to over 200 million people, Nigeria touts a policing system that is centralized, with the Nigerian police force at the helm. This structure, while designed to maintain order, often grapples with the daunting task of policing such a vast and diverse nation. The centralized system means that all commands and directives flow from the top. This structure, while beneficial in terms of unified command and control, has its drawbacks. The vastness of Nigeria's landscape and its cultural diversity can sometimes make it challenging for a centralized system to effectively address local issues and nuances. A major issue that continues to plague the Nigerian police force is corruption. From bribery to extortion, corruption has been a recurring theme, undermining the trust of the public in the institution. This is not to say that every officer is corrupt, but the perception of corruption has become a significant challenge for the force. In addition to corruption, the Nigerian police force faces the issue of inadequate training. Police training is a critical component of an effective policing system. However, in Nigeria, the training provided to officers has often been criticized for being insufficient and outdated. This lack of adequate training has implications on the force's ability to effectively carry out its duties and maintain public safety. Recently, there has been a surge in calls for reform within the Nigerian policing system. The public outcry for change has been driven by concerns over police brutality, corruption, and the need for a more community-oriented approach to policing. These calls for reform are a crucial step towards addressing the systemic issues within the Nigerian police force and improving its relationship with the public. The Nigerian police system, while facing its own challenges, continues to strive towards improvement. The journey may be long and fraught with obstacles, but the goal remains clear: to create a policing system that is efficient, transparent, and trusted by the citizens it serves. Crossing the Atlantic, we land in the United Kingdom. Here, the policing system is quite distinct from its counterparts around the globe. The United Kingdom doesn't have a single unified police force. Instead, it is divided into 43 localized police services, each catering to specific geographic areas. These services are largely autonomous, with their own chief constables who are responsible for the day-to-day operations. This localized structure allows for a more targeted approach, with police services able to adapt to the unique needs and challenges of their respective communities. However, this doesn't mean the UK's policing system lacks central oversight. Enter the Home Office, the government department responsible for maintaining law and order. The Home Office provides national standards and strategic direction, ensuring that while each police service operates independently, they still toe the line of the broader national objectives. The UK also introduced an interesting concept in 2012, the Police and Crime Commissioners, or PCCs. These are elected officials tasked with holding their local police service to account. They set the police budget, outline local policing priorities, and can even hire and fire the chief constable. By introducing a democratic element into the policing system, PCCs ensure that the public has a say in how their communities are policed. But perhaps the most defining feature of the UK policing system is its emphasis on community policing. The idea is simple. Police are not just enforcers of the law, but they are also members of the community they serve. This philosophy is embodied in the principles of policing by consent, a concept that dates back to the formation of the Metropolitan Police in 1829. The police don't derive their power from the state's ability to enforce its will, but from the consent and cooperation of the public. This approach fosters a sense of mutual respect and understanding between the police and the community, leading to more effective crime prevention and a stronger public trust in the police. The UK's focus on community involvement in policing sets a unique precedent. It's a system that values local autonomy, democratic accountability, and community cooperation, all in the pursuit of maintaining law and order. Across the pond, we explore the policing system in the United States. The United States boasts a policing system as diverse and intricate as its landscape. Unlike many nations where a single centralized authority oversees law enforcement, the U.S. policing system is a complex, decentralized network. It's a web of interconnected yet independent entities, each operating within their own jurisdiction. At the base of this network are local law enforcement agencies, such as city police departments and county sheriff's offices. These agencies are responsible for maintaining order, enforcing local laws, and serving their communities. They are the most visible and accessible tier of law enforcement to the general public. Then, you have state law enforcement agencies. These include state police, highway patrols, and investigative agencies. They typically handle crimes that cross city or county lines, enforce state laws, and assist local agencies when needed. At the top of this hierarchy are federal law enforcement agencies like the FBI, DEA, and Homeland Security. They are tasked with investigating and enforcing federal laws, often focusing on complex, multi-jurisdictional crimes like human trafficking, terrorism, and drug smuggling. But with this decentralized system comes a set of challenges. One of the most pressing issues in the U.S. today revolves around the ongoing debate about policing and racial bias. Critics argue that the system disproportionately targets and harms communities of color. Proponents of reform advocate for measures like de-escalation training, body cameras, and community policing to address these concerns. It's also worth noting that each agency operates with a considerable degree of autonomy. This can lead to inconsistencies in law enforcement practices across different jurisdictions. On the flip side, the system's decentralization allows for a more tailored approach to law enforcement, accommodating the unique needs of local communities. The U.S. policing system, diverse as the country itself, continues to be a topic of intense debate. It's a system that reflects the country's federalist principles, but it's also a system that must continually evolve to meet the changing needs and expectations of its diverse population. Heading north, we find ourselves in Canada. Here, the policing system is as diverse and expansive as the country itself. It's a multi-tiered system that's meticulously structured, ensuring every level of law enforcement has a specific role to play. At the heart of this system are the municipal police forces. They are the first responders, the guardians of their respective communities. These municipally controlled forces work within city limits, focusing on maintaining order, preventing and investigating crimes, and serving their communities in times of need. Next, we ascend to the provincial level, where we find the provincial police forces. These forces operate in areas without a municipal police presence, typically in rural and remote areas. They handle a range of duties, from traffic enforcement to criminal investigations, ensuring law and order is maintained across the expansive Canadian landscape. But the policing system in Canada doesn't stop here. It reaches further, to the federal level, where the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, or the RCMP, holds the reins. The RCMP is unique, serving as the federal, provincial, and municipal police force, depending on the jurisdiction. They tackle serious and organized crime, enforce federal statutes, maintain peace and order, prevent and investigate crime, and provide various policing services to Canadian provinces and territories that do not have their own provincial police forces. Now, what sets the Canadian policing system apart is its emphasis on community policing.
This philosophy promotes partnerships and strategies that proactively address the conditions leading to public safety issues such as crime, social disorder, and fear of crime. It's about building trust, fostering communication, and creating safer communities together. Canada's approach to policing is a blend of tradition and modernity. It's a system that recognizes the unique needs of its diverse communities and adapts accordingly, ensuring that the law is not just enforced but also respected at every level. As we wrap up our tour of the Canadian policing system, we see a model that effectively balances the scales between local needs and national enforcement. It's a system that's as vast and varied as the country itself, but with a shared goal: maintaining peace, order, and a safe environment for all its citizens. Canada's multi-tiered system brings a unique perspective to our discussion.
Now that we've journeyed through each country, it's time for a comparative analysis. Let's kick off with the structure of these policing systems. In Nigeria, the Nigeria Police Force is a national body, centralized and governed by the federal government. This is in stark contrast to the systems in the United States and Canada, where policing is much more localized. In the States, you have city police, county sheriffs, state troopers, and federal agencies, each with its own jurisdiction. Up north in Canada, it's a similar story with municipal, provincial, and federal police forces, each playing a unique role. The United Kingdom, meanwhile, operates a regional model, with territorial police forces responsible for specific areas. Now let's talk about recruitment and training. In Nigeria, the police force is known for its rigorous physical training. However, there's a consensus that more could be done in terms of theoretical training on law enforcement and human rights. The USA, UK, and Canada, on the other hand, place a significant emphasis on both physical and theoretical training. For instance, in the UK, new recruits must undertake a 2-year probationary period that includes on-the-job training and theory work. Similarly, in the USA and Canada, recruits undergo extensive training that covers law, ethics, cultural diversity, and crisis intervention, among other things. In terms of funding, the Nigerian police force is solely funded by the government, which has led to issues such as underfunding and corruption. On the flip side, in the USA, police departments are funded by local, state, and federal sources, while in Canada, funding comes from municipal, provincial, and federal coffers. The UK police are funded by a combination of central government grants, council tax precepts, and other income. Let's not forget accountability. In Nigeria, there's a growing call for improved accountability and transparency in the police force. Meanwhile, in the USA, the concept of police accountability has been a hot topic, with calls for police reform growing louder in recent years. Canada and the UK also grapple with these issues, with both countries implementing measures to increase police accountability and transparency. Public perception is another key factor to consider. In Nigeria, the police force often struggles with public trust due to allegations of corruption and brutality. In contrast, the UK police tend to enjoy a higher level of public confidence, although this can vary regionally. In the USA, public perception of the police is polarized and can depend on factors such as race and location. Canada, meanwhile, generally sees a moderate level of trust in its police forces, although this can fluctuate based on recent events and public sentiment. Lastly, let's touch on the challenges faced by these policing systems. In Nigeria, corruption, underfunding, and a lack of modern equipment are key challenges. In the USA, the police face issues such as gun violence, racial tensions, and calls for police reform. The UK police grapple with challenges like cybercrime, terrorism, and budget cuts, while Canadian police face issues such as rural crime, mental health crises, and Indigenous rights concerns. So, there you have it, a comparative analysis of the policing systems in Nigeria, UK, USA, and Canada. It's clear that while there are marked differences in structure, funding, accountability, and public perception, there are also shared challenges and goals. Each system, while unique in its structure and challenges, shares a common goal: the safety and security of its citizens. As we wrap up our global tour of policing systems, let's take a moment to recap. We've embarked on a journey exploring the unique policing models in Nigeria, the UK, the USA, and Canada. Each system, with its own set of merits and challenges, shapes the society it serves in distinct ways. In Nigeria, we saw a centralized system struggling with issues of corruption. The UK presented us a community-focused model, while the USA offered a glimpse into a highly militarized approach. Canada, on the other hand, showed us a blend of community policing and enforcement tactics, Understanding these diverse models is crucial. It sheds light on the complex relationship between law enforcement and society. It helps us comprehend how different approaches impact crime rates, public trust, and societal harmony. Remember, understanding these systems can be a stepping stone towards meaningful conversations and reforms. Thank you for joining this journey, and we hope to see you in the next video.